Hi. Sorry, that should be H and I, the two letters on the chopping block in today's list of lost penguins. Hello, my name is Gavin, this is Genre Books, and these are works that have been dropped from the Penguin Classics imprint, and I'm specifically looking at ones that did not survive the cream era. At the end of the last episode, we saw some of the greats of classical Greek writing unceremoniously dumped. Well, the New World doesn't escape this kind of treatment either. We begin today with Bret, Harte, The Luck of the Roaring Camp, and other sketches. This is foundational Western American literature. Stories, poems, essays, and parodies. Parodies of Dickens, Arthur Conan Doyle, and James Fenimore Cooper as well. This next one I have a personal grievance about, because I've read this book and I love this book and I see no reason why this should have been dropped. It's not his most famous work, but it's so good. Nathaniel Hawthorne, The Marble Faun. So I read this at university. This is the copy I had at the time, and I normally get rid of books from my bookshelf once I have read them. This one has stayed on my bookshelves, and for good reason. I think it's fantastic. So I'm showing personal bias here for this particular book, and I have no qualms about doing so. This is, I'm going to say it, better than The Scarlet Letter. It's better than The House of Seven Gables. It just pips the Blithedale romance. I think it might be my favourite Nathaniel Hawthorne. It is about a group of Americans on something like the Grand Tour of Italy. And it is the confrontation of the influence of Europe and butting up against American morality. The story is about a murder and its repercussions. Anyway, I would recommend it. You might not be able to get the Penguin Classics anymore, but it must be available in other imprints. I would urge you, anybody, to read this. I loved it. And as is normal in these videos, I go from something I have read and like to someone I've never read. I had heard of this person before, but only because I was researching something else for BookTube. So when I see a name keep cropping up, as it has done, it piques my interest to get to know that writer a little bit better. Lafcadio Hearn, Writings from Japan. He was a Greek-Irish writer who moved initially to the United States and worked in a few places in the States. He was a journalist for a while in New Orleans, but who found his forte later in life, writing about Japan, a country that he had moved to. He settled, married, and died there. His writings have been turned into films, into television, into puppet theatre, into manga, and even into a series of video games. But Penguin, obviously no respecter of cultural footprint, and selected Writings from Japan dropped. For book number 4, moving on to some poetry which has been culled, and we go to Scotland. Robert Henryson, The Testament of Cresseid and Other Poems. He was a 15th century Scots poet and probably most famous for a Scots version of Aesop's fables. He is also one of the 2 writers in the next book, number 5, the selected poems of Robert Henryson and William Dunbar. So someone really had it in for Robert Henryson. William Dunbar, another 15th century Scottish poet. But if the 15th century sounds too modern for you, let me take you back to the 14th century. An English Augustinian mystic who died in 1396, Walter Hilton, The Ladder of Perfection. This book is a guide for a full Christian life: prayer, meditation, contemplation, and activity. It's still in print now, just not by Penguin. We have seen so far in this little series very famous writers who have been dropped. Now, not everything that they have written has been dropped in some of these cases, but perhaps some of their lesser known works. But this next writer didn't have that many known works, but they've still found a way to drop him and sacrificed their own founding father along the way. Homer in English, translations by T.E. Lawrence, by Keats, some more modern translators, and translated by E.V. Ryu, the founding editor of Penguin Classics. Joining Homer in this week's outtray is Horace. Horace in English, translated here by some people you probably haven't heard of: Ben Jonson, John Milton, John Dryden, Alexander Pope, A.E. Houseman. I mean, who knows these guys? Next up, a very early American novel, The Emigrants by Gilbert Imlay. American frontier literature set in the Ohio River Valley in Kentucky. Exploration, adventure, and love plots. Pipping Gilbert Imlay to the printers by only 2 years, 1791 saw Elizabeth Inchbald's A Simple Story. I think it's stayed in print since 1791, but its time at Penguin Classics has come and gone. It is not often that we have in 18th century literature illicit female desire as a subject for a novel, yet here it is. Again, this was a book I hadn't heard about. I checked the list that my wife has compiled, and I go away and I find out a little about these works if there is something that I can learn about them. And this one really did pique my interest. I will have a look on Gutenberg, see if I can find a copy of this one. But there we have it for another week. If you see any of these in the wild, pick one up. They're not making them no more. Until next time.